Full screen.
Start screen share.
Here we go.
Whoa! Inception.
Okay.
Okay,
you guys ready?
Recording?
Huh?
Want to double check it's recording?
Yeah, it's recording. Look. Just to confirm, you see? It says stop recording at the bottom?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's go back and we don't have that much time. So let's at least review some of the
After 6?
here's some of the code. What?
6?
Yeah. Okay, so we got the thing. So if you look over here. Okay, so here's where I'm keeping my code for chapter 1, right? So if I want to run this code, right, I got to go to the command line. I'll start again for you so you can see. This you can do on yours also. CMD opens up the command line. Oh, 1 second, guys. Now this is on here, but who cares?
We have 30,000 views on this people.
Dina, I'm going to look fast. Okay? Yeah, I'm going to look fast. We're almost done soon. I'll come back. I can't hear you? I don't know. Marcy's picking her up. Okay. 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 Here we go. Okay. So when you go into your command line, you usually wind up over here, right? You wind up on under your name on your under your user account. So you got to do is go to where you have that folder. So the easiest way to do it, just go to here to where you have your thing. Control C. This is actually not going to work. You know why? Because I'm in C. So first I got to change in my thing. I got to change the D directory because that's where I'm keeping my stuff. Go to here, Control C. Over here, do CD, which means change directory. Right click, paste. Boom, I'm in. Okay, so if I do DRR, I'll see all the files that are there. Okay, cool. Now if I want to run a file, I can go ahead and do Yeah. Now we gotta do. So let's say let's just run one of the files.
You did Control V. I assume you did one.
No, right click paste. You can't do Control V with it. Okay, so let's run the crap app for a second, make sure everything's working, and it's working fine. Okay. Okay, so let's review some of the stuff. Let's go through here, and now that you guys are all set up, next time we really have to start moving paste inside the book. Let's go through this little small crap app first. Okay, so we got the basic gist. Here's a class. This code over here, you see with Sublime text, boom, to the bottom. You know it ends over there. This one over here goes to here. System print out line, there you go. What's the difference between print line and print?
Print out line means print on the next line.
There we go. So if you look over here in the output, you see over here C is crap is on one line, and all this on the next line. Actually, I gotta compile this again.
We're gonna learn the if on.
What are we going?
Okay, so you see that? Okay. Everyone got that? We're gonna move on. Everyone with me? Okay, so let's go to my notes, and you guys, in your files, I'm gonna set up a what's it called again? Maybe Mendy, you can do this, or one of you guys can do this tonight. Set up a Dropbox where all you guys can put you have one directory for Mendel, one for regular, one for Mendy. You guys can put in your notes because you have to have also notes for each class. Because I'm telling you, the key to successful programming is notes. No times.
Files, man.
How many times?
I did crap.java.
Yeah.
Saved it from Notepad.
So just save it, and when you do it, make sure you don't save it as a text file. It says save as.
Java.
What time?
I did it .java.
But still, when you save it, it says what type of file type it is. Make sure you do it as a Java. Anyways, use Sublime Text. Don't use Notepad.
So note is meant to write on the side, something to remember.
The notes of the class and notes of the book, whatever you want to do, just good notes. Because I'm telling you, when I first started my job, I almost looked at my notes every single day for the first year. That's what it is. You're not going to remember everything. You're not supposed to remember everything. If you're memorizing things, that means you're wasting time. You're supposed to be using your talents for creative things and how to think of new ideas. There's a zillion things to remember. You're not going to remember everything. You have to just remember ideas and then reference them.
No, you're right.
Okay, so here's some of the notes I've created, and I'm going to go through that. Ready? Here's chapter 1. Source, right? We will run quickly through. Mendy with me? Mendy with me? All you guys with me?
Yeah.
Part of your Java, save it to compile. You compile it, you get the Java file, right? You compile the Java file, you get the .class file, which is bytecode, right? bytecode you can run on any machine that has a JVM on it. Right? That's the cool thing about JVM. Then you run it, and that's in the thing. So when I go over here and I actually run this last command, this is actually running in my Java virtual machine. That just ran in the JVM. If I put it on your machine, the same thing will run. Okay? Remember this. A source code file, which is exactly this, right, has one class. One class per file, no more, no less. Inside a class, you put methods, and later on we'll also learn about variables and attributes, but for now we're just going to learn methods off the bat. And in methods go statements, right? Statements mean to do something. For example, over here, this would be the class, the whole file. Notice over here, this is very important, how the crap app is the same name as the class. And they're not only the same name, they are the same case. Java is case sensitive, which means that this does not equal this. They're two different things.
What?
This does not equal this.
Yeah.
Okay? Make sure the name of your file is the same name as your class and the same exact case. Okay, next thing. So over here, inside this whole thing from here to here is a method. Okay? Inside this method, we have statements. Statements are really, by the end of the day, what the program does. Okay? By the end of the day, everything else is just, holding things. The statements are what does stuff. Okay? Okay, so none of that. Every Java app must have at least one class, right? And at least one main method. Okay, so over here we have one class with one main method. But if you want, you can have a million classes. But by the end of the day, if your app that you create, so you create an app and you put it on your, on your computer, that your app, I don't know what it does, it's a messaging app. You can have a zillion classes, but the one that starts off, the one that when you press the app to press it go, or you open it up, that class has to have a main method. You can have other classes that can have main methods too. You might want main methods in other apps. Why? What if you want to run on another class directly without running it from this one? Okay, for testing, that's awesome. Say you make an app and you want to test it out directly without running it all the way from the beginning of the application. Put a main method in there, you can call it directly. Okay. Next, Java is OO. What does OO stand for? There we go. Object-oriented. Therefore, everything is in the class. And a lot of languages are not like this. For example, Python, like I showed you yesterday. If I go to Python over here, it's going to annoy you now how easy Python is, but listen, everything has both sides of the coin. Over here, I can do print, hi, boom, done. Has the hub. In Java, in order to do print hi, you have to make a class, you got to make a method, you got to put in a print statement. It's much more complicated because everything has to be in a class. Every single thing in Java is in a class.
You do eventually just copy and paste.
Yeah, I'm not saying there's ways to get around it, and speed-wise. But the main thing is to keep in mind that Java is object-oriented and strict object-oriented. I mean, everything is object-oriented. In Python, you could use objects. You could use, I'm not going to go there. There's other different paradigms of programming you can use. Java is direct object-oriented. Okay, next thing. We did this already. Not every class requires a main method. Only one that starts the program. Okay? We did this one already. Code blocks are defined by curly braces. Okay? So, for example, this to here are curly braces, or curly brackets, or what you want to call them. That defines a block of code. From here to here is a block of code. Okay? So, for example, in Python, what is it? So you can see the difference. In Python, if I do if one, look how it is in Python. In Python, a block of code is an indent space, totally different than Java. Just to get an understanding of how languages are different. In Java, to define a block of code, you use the curly braces.
In every code that you write.
Define a block of code. So for a method, this method goes over here to here. Well, so do if statements. If statements, so for example, you see over here, there's an if statement. Yeah. This block of code goes from here to here to here. Yeah. Well, this blocks of code will make more sense when we go into if. Okay?
Oh, you're putting.
This is a Sublime text. Okay, next thing. I'm not going to go through the I don't want you guys to take the code. Well, first go over here. Print does to the same line. Print ln. Print line goes to the next line. When you do a print statement. So, for example, over here, This one goes on one line, and these two will go on the same exact line. Like if you run it, you see C is
The
correct.
whole time I was doing print in.
Print line, yeah. Okay, next thing. Okay. Java has 3 types of loops. What's a loop?
While and do.
While, do while, and for.
Oh,
If is not a loop. Loops mean it loops through something. So let's try a loop out. Guys ready? We're getting into loops now. Okay? Before we get into loops, one last thing. How do you compare things in Java? How do we say if x is less than y? Very common. Y, you use this. This is for greater than, this is less than. This is very important to keep in mind. This is equality, not equals. Okay, right? There's a big, big difference. Many people, you'll probably get this mistake when you're starting off. Okay, in Java, if I do this in Java, oops. If I go like this in Java, say like this, you know, x equals y, that makes no sense. Because x equals y means over here, I want x to equal y. Right? This, you could do that, because that's saying do they equal. I mean, this is comparing them. Okay, so just remember that. When you do this, it's comparing if they're equal. This, you're assigning something. You're saying,
you're right.
okay, in this
C
variable,
equals 14.
one time, there we go.
C equals 14.
Yeah.
And then if you do if C equals 14.
Yeah, so we'll find over here. If you look over here, this over here, if you notice, we're doing equal. In other words, we're assigning 3 to x. X will now hold the number, the integer 3. Okay? That's it. Now let's go into some of the code. Okay, so here we are. Let's look at this little first app that we're creating. Number 1. Let's see what time it is. Okay. Number 1. This is how you do a multi-line comment. Comment means things that do not run and do not compile. Okay? You see how we do this? Forward star, backslash.
Here we right.
Same thing as in SQL. Same way we did.
2 slashes, no?
In time? 2 slashes is for a comment that is only on one line. This is a multi-line comment.
What do you mean, when you open the files and it show up?
In time?
No, if you open up the file, that one line will not show up.
What do you mean show up?
The line that you
Comments mean something that you read when you read the code for you to understand as a human being. But when it compiles, it doesn't care about it. When it runs, it doesn't care about it. It means nothing.
2 backslashes will care about it?
Not either. But those.
So what's the difference?
So this only goes for one line. Look, if I go over here.
One line in actual.
Look, if I go over here and do.
I got it.
Okay, you got it.
Same thing as SQL.
Yeah. In SQL, it would be dash dash for one line.
Right, but this would be the same.
Right. Okay, so we have a lot of things in this code. I don't want to run the whole thing now because it can get you confused. For example, if I run the whole entire thing, look what happens. Let's do it. Java, my first app. A lot of stuff's going on. I don't want to do the whole thing one time. So an easy way, and remember this is so important when you're writing code. To test out pieces of code is to use multi-line comments. So example, I'll go over here, and let's just print out the first part. So I'm going to do, starting from here, oops. Starting from here, I'm going to put in a multi-line start comment and end up all the way at the bottom.
So what do you say?
Okay? Look, so I just right now commented out from here all the way to here without removing code from my file. If I want to put it back, I just take away the comments. Okay? See, here it is. Let's go ahead and compile it.
You save it?
Yeah. Okay, it's compiling fine. And let's run it. Okay, perfect. X equals 51. Okay,
Go back.
so over here,
So you're saying this is great when in order to catch problems in the future?
catch problems, test things out. In other words, don't if something's wrong in your code, don't remove it from your code. Just comment it out. Okay, until you figure out what the issue is, and if it's really bad, then you remove it, etc. But you don't need to always take out pieces of your code. Multi-line comments are very good for debugging. In other words, checking to see how your code works for issues, etc.
And don't get scared when it's like gives you like 6 errors, because usually it's like
One.
just the same thing. Yeah.
If that doesn't make sense, it's 6 hours.
Yeah, no, we'll see soon later on. For example, with Mendy, we did this already. If you run your compiler and the compiler gets 10 errors, what you should do? Well, comment out everything except for line 1. Does line 1 work when you compile? Okay, good. Line 2 works when you compile? Go through until you hit where the error is happening. Sometimes the compiler gives you an error, but it's hard to really track down what it's pointing to.
Usually the first one, though.
You'll see. You'll see sometimes the compiler, yeah, you'll see, but sometimes the compiler is not, the errors it gives out are not so easy to understand. Okay, so let's look at this, what we have so far. Int x equals 3. Okay, what is going on over here? We're saying, we're having an integer, we're going to call it x. This is a variable. It's a little box that we're putting something into, and we're going to put 3 inside there. Okay? Just watch how different this is than Python. If I go to Python, I just do x equals 3. You see that? In Python, you don't actually have to define what the type of the variable is. You don't have to define what the bucket is. I can now say x equals c and do x. This concept does not exist in Java. Java forces you to tell you what bucket are you having. What is the variable? Is it an integer? Is it a string? Is it a list of strings? Is it a list of integers? What is it? Okay?
Wow.
And you can only use it for that. If I want to use x now for something else, you can't. X is an integer, and that's it.
You convert it forward through?
You can convert, but unless you convert, it'll fail. Okay? So int, integer, it's x, it equals 3. Over here, we're just doing a little simple statement. We're saying that x now is what? Equals x times 17. Right? So that's why the output was, what's 3 times 17?
51.
51. So that's why the output was 51. Okay?
So what's the point of the first item?
One time? What was the point of what?
Just saying x equals x.
Just to show just some statement, how statements work. Yeah, this doesn't make any sense from why would you need this, but this is how it is. Okay, next thing notice.
And then which x is the next one? When you keep going down, right? It says while x
So,
less
well,
than 12. Which x are you
you're
referring
going
to?
ahead. You're going
So it goes in order. So right now it's all comes out, something's there. But first let's look at this line. Notice how over here how I'm mixing characters with the variable. Okay? So if I do, for example, 3 times 15, what should it equal? Okay, so what should show over here? X is what?
45.
Right. In other words, it changes based. This changes based on whatever these are. Okay. Okay. Now let's move down to a while loop. Okay. So I'm gonna take this. Look how easy this is. I'm taking this now and just drag it down there. Okay. So now we can look at the while loop. Okay. X at this point is what? How much is it?
45.
45. So is X greater than 12?
Yeah.
Yes. So this says, while this is true, okay, so x 45 is more than 12, so it's still true, do whatever in this block. And now you know why a block, these things are so important. If you wouldn't put this in, it wouldn't know what to do within that loop. Okay? So while this is true, print out what it is, and then also decrease it by 10.
So then it would come out x is now 35, or x is still 45, and then after.
So next loop. So this does first. So first it's 45,
Okay.
then you go to 35. Loops again. Is 35 more than 12?
But you can put x, but you can put x equals
I can
x
put it
minus
first.
10 on top, and it would go 35. That's now.
Yes.
But you won't go 35. Well,
If you put the x equals x minus 10 on top.
but once that turns less than 12 or
Then-
12, less 12, then
it won't run.
Then it'll go out. Then the loop ends.
Yeah.
Right, and then it'll go minus 10.
It won't go minus 10.
No. It'll
Because remember,
Oh, I see. It's in the loop. Sorry.
It's
I'm
in the loop
I thought
itself,
the
yeah.
was there for-
yeah. So that's the key thing. So if this was out of the loop,
It will be 45.
If the x minus.
okay. So
x
let's
equals
run
x
it. So you
minus
can
10
see
or
clearly what
something.
happens. Let's go ahead and run it. I'm going to comment out this
So
too.
what's this point?
The point is after it declares that x is now
45.
45, after that it's going to minus it by 10. So in the next part of the loop, it'll be 35.
Right.
Let's just see. Oh, I see what you're saying. So once it's 45, now it stays 45. When I run this the first time,
It's going to be 45.
This
but,
loop. Let's run
this part of
it.
the
Let's
loop.
run it. Let's run it. There's too much theory here. Let's run it. Java. Let's compile it. Man, I'm just pressing up over here. Up will bring you to the last code you wrote. Okay, so you see what happened? X is 45, that came out from this one. X is now 45, from the first loop, second loop, third loop, fourth loop. By the fifth loop, this is where it's very important.
It's pretty lower.
It goes back and it says 5. Is 5 more than 12? No, that's false, and therefore it skips this entire block and jumps to the next part of the code.
You're really working hard to find that out.
One more time?
GMD's really working hard to find that out.
Oh.
What?
Okay. Next thing. Okay, next thing, guys. Ready? Let's go now to that's a while loop. So what are while loops good for? Simple loops, right? Okay, it really.
It also can be if.
One more time?
We're not going to be learning about if loops as well? Or?
There's no such thing as if loops. If is a condition. There's for loops. Okay, so we put this up here again, and the comment over here. And let's add another one over here so we can just deal with this middle part. Okay, so now we'll look at the for loop. Okay, first let's run it so you can see what's happening, and then we'll
Wait, let's try to figure out first.
What?
Let's try to figure out first. Here comes the for loop. For loop. For int y equals 0, y less than 10, y equals y plus 1. Then if any of that is true,
I think the picture. Ready?
Yeah. Let's compile it.
You want my picture?
how do we know what y is?
A second.
Y is whatever was before.
Okay, we're compiling it. Compiles fine. And now let's run it. And we'll just do it from there. Okay, so you see what's happening now? It's looping from 0 all the way to 9.
Oh, because it says y is 0.
Okay, so how this is working? There's 3 parts. There's 3 parts in the for loop inside the brackets over here. Let's focus on this. Notice that there's semicolons. You guys see that? That's very important.
Yeah.
First part tells the loop what are we starting off with. What's the initial value of y? What's the initial value? 0. Next, it says what's the condition that we're continuing this loop.
Less than 10.
We're going to only continue if it's less than 10. Next part tells you, okay, for each loop, what are we going to do to y? Well, each loop we're going to say y now equals y plus 1. So 0, then 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, then 5.
Y have a dot after? Or what is that?
What?
Is there a comma?
Semicolon.
Friend, I have a question. If you move the y less than 10 to the left,
No.
it's
That
gonna
has
be
to be in
that.
this order.
Y is all in semicolons.
So the plus always in the hand, like plus minus.
Y is all in semicolons.
One more time?
Y is all in semicolons.
That's how you separate the for the for loop. That's how.
Why don't I see it now?
One time?
When you highlight it, is it?
Yeah, right
Not
here.
the semicolons, the commas.
No
Oh,
comment.
okay. So when you highlight it, there's
Oh, they look like
little
commas?
dots that are in between lines.
Oh, okay, no, that's just a. Okay, so this part says what am I starting off with? Next, there's 3 arguments to this for loop. What am I starting off with? On what condition am I going to continue this loop? And then finally, what am I going to do to y each time?
And then it's 1.
Okay, so what's happening? 0, 1 to the right, and then when it hits 11, it goes there, and it says, guess what? This ain't true anymore, and jumps out. Okay, and then you run it, and then you can see what happens. Okay.
It goes to 9.
So if you're gonna
If
do
10 is not
equal,
less than-
Yeah, 10 is
put
equal.
equal under.
One time?
Like this. So
Integer,
put
yeah,
equal.
but
Less than
Equal, it would never work even the first time,
Why?
because 1 doesn't equal 10. You can do less or equal.
Yeah, let's
Like this.
So what does it mean?
add
Y is
equal.
now
that.
plus Y. Y plus Y. Whatever. Y equals.
y equals y plus 1.
What's your question, Mendel?
Oh, that's what you're saying. You're just adding.
Yeah.
You're adding.
You're adding 1 every time the loop
Yeah.
runs. until it's-
Yeah, we'll see later on. We're doing beginnings. There's ways to go beyond this. There's ways to say it simpler, but we'll just do this is how we're gonna start off. Okay, next thing. So we have to end. Let's go now to the final thing. Let's go to the if statement.
If
Okay.
else if.
Okay. So here we have a if statement. Okay. So first thing, we're taking a string, which is called name, and we're gonna call it las. Then we're gonna make an integer called num and make it equal 9.
String name les. Okay.
Okay. Now we're gonna say if. If this is true, then between here and here, do that. Otherwise, do this.
Ah, this is the end.
This is an and.
Can you write and instead of that?
No.
Also, or just this?
No, just this.
Okay.
Okay? So basically, if num equals 9, is that true? Yeah?
Okay.
If num equals
And now.
equals 9, yeah.
Okay. If name equals les, is that true?
So why
No.
is that?
Wait, what? You can do equals like that as well?
Name dot equals. You see how that is?
Oh, because you're using the dot. Okay.
Can I change it to just?
You want to explain that how dot equals?
We're going to go into later on because you have to first have to learn about how objects work.
The dot operator.
We're going to learn soon. Now, I don't want to go into that 'cause it's going to open
Okay.
a whole other can of worms.
Num is 9, and name equals.
Just
5.
understand that by strings you'll use this way, and by
Well,
integers
If, yes,
use
if
this.
num is 9 and name equals lad.
So is that true?
Why would why should it not be true?
I'm saying, is it true? So if it's true, then I'll say yeah. If not, I'll say no.
Oh,
Wait, what are the 4 different
That's
types
just
of
regular,
what's called the
What?
loops? You have 4 different ways of calling
Three.
them.
3 different ways.
3? Oh, just while, if, and
While,
else.
do while, and for. If is not a loop.
What?
If is not a loop.
while for.
Loop means you're going in a loop. If just does it is a condition.
So what is it? While for what else?
Yeah, in the book
There's
it says
while,
it's
do while, and for. We haven't discussed do while. Let's later on we'll discuss that one.
Okay. While, for, and
Do while.
Do while.
Okay, but that we're not going to discuss right now. The do while one. Okay. Okay, so let's run this. Let's see what happens. Okay. It compiles. No problem. Here we go. So you see what happens? Look at the output. It says yeah. Okay, why? Because this was true. Well, let's do this. If num equals 10, is that true?
No.
It's not true. Even though the second part is true, this is not true. Because it has to be and. Right? Let's do it again just to show that it won't.
So I would use this situation for questionnaire.
Yeah, anytime if statements you can use all the time. So he says no.
If the guy puts the wrong answer, then the answer.
Right, so but here we're doing an and. Let's try this.
Let's try this.
Indeed.
Can I do an or statement in there?
Nope.
So give me one. Like,
Okay, you see what's happening, guys?
10, 11, or 12.
You guys see what happens?
9.
Guys, look, guys, focus.
Yeah, I'm focused.
What is this?
Change it.
What is this, guys? That's or.
What is it?
Or.
Yeah, I understand, but I don't know how you do it.
It's two,
Do what?
they call these pipes.
Great, where are the types?
Okay, so that's or. So if num equals 10, no, but this does equal 10, so it'll still say yeah. As you see over here, it says yeah. Okay, so remember, the or and ands are not or and and. It's two pipes,
Or
2 pipes, and the and symbol. Okay? Cool?
Kaplensky. Take Kaplensky.
Kaprensky.
The
Okay.
and is the and symbol. And.
Hasta la vista.